Teresa Rodden, author, coach, and advocate, the creator of Explore 28-Day Journal, and I'm excited to be with you today. Today we are on day number 9, and I had a little bit of trouble trying to put my thoughts into words today, so I'm really curious to watch how this comes out. And I think it might be because I'm a little distracted. My mom's here and I can hear her, and so she requires a lot of attention right now, and so that I have that little bit of distraction, and I'm just keeping it real with you. And then it's also got me in a different headspace with this topic today, with today's little holy sober insight. Not long after I became sober, my niece and I were running errands, and as we were leaving a bank, I found myself wondering, how did I ever have time to drink? It may seem insignificant, but it was part of my awakening to how I had cheated myself of living life for so many years. Now today, and here's your writing prompt. Okay, so you have 2 pages for you to write. And your writing prompt is, I will have more time to. So when you're becoming sober, whether that's mindful moderation or abstinence, however it is you decide to take charge of your relationship with alcohol, what will you have more time to do? Because I never thought of time as anything more than what was keeping me from getting drunk again. So I will have more time to drink. Before I quit drinking, I did only what I had to do to get to beer 30. And that is the absolute truth. My sister and her husband would come over and we would karaoke and drink, or barbecue and drink, or we'd go and watch her son play football and then come back to the house and drink. There's a lot of karaoke going at the end of our drinking. I would host events at my house. I would have family picnics and get-togethers, but it was always around drinking. And as a matter of fact, one of the last events was Christmas Eve, and I invited my aunt over, my Aunt Ruthie, and I was the owner of a construction company, so I was able to have a team come in and widen the door and install some some wheelchair tools or whatnot to help my Aunt Ruth, because she was in a wheelchair, so she could come to a Christmas Eve. And I have no recollection of that evening at all. I can't even remember speaking to my aunt, and I know I did. I know I had to have. And I took pictures. It was at the time when we had the 35mm cameras, and I took pictures, but they were all blurry, much like the woman that was taking the pictures. I had no thought or any connection to time. Now that was my drunk life. That was my drunk life. Now I'm in this segment, or in this video, I'm going to share something that's come up while I was writing that new book, Sober Revolution. It's just a little handbook, but it's got this concept in there of stages. So that was my drunk life, and I had no value on time whatsoever. And then my recovery time was when I stopped drinking, but I was stumbling along with this constant preoccupation about drinking, because this is what I'd done for 20 years. Whenever I had free time available and I wasn't working or had, something I had to do, I was drinking. So now what do I do with all this free time? It was just before Prince Harming was removed from my life, I don't know how I managed to work through that time. I know I did a lot of journaling, but I can't. He was such an ugly human being, and I can't imagine how I made it through that first couple of months before he was removed from my life. Because nothing really changed except for I wasn't drinking, because he was still there and we were still running the businesses together. And so it's really, and I wasn't going to AA yet, so I'm not quite sure how I managed to go through that time. But again, that was my recovery time. And I think there is, in my world, in my concept, in the way that I think, there is a difference between recovery and sobriety. Now, this is recovery where you're trying to find your way. You're just trying to realize who you are. And then there's a time when, and this is the time that I got to, that I mentioned in the journal, was how did I ever have time to drink? There was a time when I stopped thinking about drinking. I wasn't watching the clock for beer 30. I didn't have to worry about accepting invitations, or if I was going to go to an event for alcohol, or if I had to worry about getting home because I was drinking. And I wasn't sluggish in the morning, and I didn't live in a mental health hell anymore. I was just free. And that's when I realized I had all this time, was when that excerpt that I shared with you from Holy Sober, where I was with my aunt or my niece, and I realized I'm free. I have all this time to experiment and explore who it is I want to be. So I want you to take this opportunity to really explore, when you stop thinking about drinking and drinking's no longer holding your thoughts, what will you have time to do? Who would you like to become? What would you like to experiment with? Because there was a laundry list of things. There was a million tiny little mistakes that I made experimenting to discover who I was. One of those things was going into business with my sponsor when I was only 3 months, not even 3 months sober. But I mean, my sponsor was wanting to go into business with me. That must mean I'm okay, right? Oh my God, farthest from the truth. I was still in the recovery brain. I was still trying to figure out who I was. And long story short, my sponsor ended up disconnecting from me and hating me because I decided I didn't want to be in business. I wanted a job. I wanted some sense of security. I wanted to explore being in the weight loss. I wanted to be a weight loss coach. I wanted to help women. That was what I wanted to do. And she was furious with me and disconnected from me, and my entire community imploded. And well, but that led me to where I am now. So I want you to be patient with yourself with this time thing, and understand that if you've been relying on alcohol for any amount of time, you have to be conscious about what you're doing and intentional with your time, and understand that you're moving forward. And that's all that really matters, is that you're moving forward, that you're not staying stuck and stagnant in that same cycle of misusing alcohol and doing the same frickin' thing over and over and over again. It's going to take time. You have the time to do it. Now be intentional with it. So your writing prompt today, just a reminder, I will have more time to do what? What do you want to do? Because you're going to need to be intentional with your time in order to combat that constant preoccupation. Don't assume, and don't just roll over and accept that that is a disease that's calling to you, and that that's an addiction. That's a habit. It's something that it's a pathway that you have been creating for a long time, and it's going to take a little while for you to recreate a new pathway. But you can do it. You can do it. So our closing quote today, and this is my favorite quote of all time, but I say that a lot, but this really is. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Mary Oliver. We just lost her this past year. What is it you plan to do with this one and only precious life of yours? It's one. I know I keep pounding this message in to you, and I hope that you're receiving it, because it's true.